Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first ever big event for mental health brought to you by the World Health Organization and me, Femi OK. So what is so big about this big event? Well, to be honest, wherever you happen to be in the world, we don't talk enough about mental health, so that is big. The theme for World Mental Health Day, well, it's all about investing in mental health. That is a big conversation. And in the next 3 hours, it is going to be packed full of leaders and activists and advocates who all care about mental health. Also, performers, celebrities may well be dropping by. They will be dropping by. And you as well. You're in this conversation. You are very important to this conversation. We couldn't have it without you. So, hashtag Move for Mental Health is how you join the conversation as well. So how should we get started? Only one place, with the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Dr. Tedros, hello, how are you?
Hello, Femi, how are you?
I am very well, thank you for asking. This is a virtual event that the WHO have never done anything like this before for mental health. Why? Why are we doing it now?
Because mental health is, as you know, one of the most neglected areas of public health. This was true even before the pandemic. The pandemic is further complicating it. As you know, close to 1 billion people are living with a mental disorder. 3 million people die every year from the harmful use of alcohol, and 1% dies every 40 seconds by suicide. This is very tragic. Yet, despite this burden, relatively few people are able to access quality mental health care. In low and middle income countries especially, 3 out of 4 people living with mental, neurological, and substance use disorders do not receive any treatment for their conditions at all. And on average, countries spend less than 2% of their total health budgets on mental health. So you can say mental health is really neglected. And now, billions of people around the world have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, which is having a further impact on mental health, worse than it used to be. The good news is that in recent years, mental health has come out of the shadows. Slowly, people are becoming more ready to talk about mental health issues. But now, words must be matched with actions to increase investment in mental health services on a massive scale, so that access to quality mental health services becomes a reality for everyone. Because there is no health without mental health.
Dr. Tedros, this is a really interesting venture because we're during COVID-19, so much is happening virtually. So to have an event that is online on multiple platforms, what is the WHO hoping to achieve?
First, we want people to watch right through to the end. Of course, as you say, it's 3 hours from now. We also want people to leave this event with hope. Hope is everything. And for people who are struggling, hope that there is a way forward, even when all hopes seems lost. For health workers trying to provide care with the bare minimum of support, we want them to know that programs exist that have been proven to work, even in low-income settings. So we want everyone to know that WHO is 100% committed to this issue, and that we will continue to work with determination to help bring quality mental health care to everyone who needs it. And lastly, that people who feel increased levels of stress, for whatever reason, learn a few simple techniques to help them manage this on a daily basis.
of the video that's coming up today, so I've seen some of those stress management techniques. You have one of them. Your voice is very calming and very relaxing. Let me ask you, who will be joining the big event today? I know you know some of the people who are going to be in our conversation. Give us a little tease. Whet our appetite.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Femi. I mean, calm comes from inside. So whether it's the voice or so, when you're calm, you can see things as they are, and it can help you to focus on issues. So without calm, by the way, the 9 months so far of storm, very, very difficult to go through. But there's one thing I would like to tell you also. One of our colleagues was asked, okay, how are you doing in this difficult storm for 9 months? How is your team holding? And this colleague of ours said, we work in good faith and we have faith in each other. I think that also helps mentally. And I mean, the reason behind the calm is, you know, when your colleagues around you work in good faith and they have faith in each other, what else do you ask for? And the reason for that is because, you know, we want to save lives. So Femi, I would like to assure you that we have an inspiring lineup from all across the world, and we will be joined by international and national leaders, mental health advocates, and celebrity musicians from several continents. It's a compelling lineup that I'm really looking forward to watching myself and others and learn from others. And we can, because for us, especially in WHO now, in the middle of COVID, we believe that we're all one family, just one family. And I hope this big event will bring us all together as a family. Thank you again, Femi.
Dr. Tedros, thank you. I will be checking in with you in about 3 hours' time from now. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about the big event for mental health. But for now, Dr. Tedros, thank you. The WHO's Special Initiative for Mental Health was launched in the past 2 years by Dr. Tedros, who you saw just there. The whole idea was there is nothing impossible as far as improving mental health conditions and services around the world. So the initiative takes 12 countries. They're given 5 years to see what they can do. You will see 6 of those countries highlighted through the next 3 hours. Let's start in Zimbabwe. If you have little ones and they're asking you questions about COVID-19, pandemic, the coronavirus, and you don't have answers for them, I have a book recommendation for you. It's a great one. It is called My Hero Is You. Here's the story of how it was created.
All around the world, children's lives have been turned upside down. From lockdowns and uncertainties to watching loved ones get sick, normal life as they know it has come to a halt. While nations and organizations do their best to react to the COVID-19 pandemic, young people often feel alone, where their fears and anxieties start to grow and overwhelm them. But from this darkness, something incredible happened. A story of hope. It's a story that's based on the feedback of 1,700 children, parents, caregivers and teachers from more than 100 countries. They shared how they were coping with the COVID-19 pandemic, and from this wealth of heartfelt testimonies, a very special book was created. My Hero Is You. The IASC Reference Group on Mental Health and Psychosocial Support in Emergency Settings is co-chaired by the World Health Organization and the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, and consists of 57 organizations. With the help of Ario, a fantasy creature, children from around the world have learnt how they can be heroes in their own stories.
Omdat ik geheld ben en ik bescherm andere mensen.
And what started as one storybook for children has quickly grown into a success story of global reach. Initially launched with 6 translations, there are now 126 translations available, making it one of the most translated stories in history. Numerous other adaptations have been created to make the book more accessible for children worldwide. An organization in Zimbabwe produced an English Braille transcript.
Wash your hands under running water. Sanitize your hands.
There is a 3-part audio version of My Hero Is You in Arabic, broadcasting on a radio station in Gaza. Across the internet you can find readings, animations, podcasts, educational materials and other renditions of the story. And not only that, other creative expressions have been made with My Hero Is You as their inspiration.
Jump on, but please sit on both sides of my wings. They're at least 1 meter apart.
Whoosh! A retelling of the story for Native Americans was created that represents Indigenous peoples, values and communities.
I miss my friends, but I know we will dance again.
An imaginative adaptation of the story was made into a short animated film to convey messages of hope, resilience, solidarity and empowerment. My Hero Is You has been a great resource to address the mental health and psychosocial well-being of children around the world in the midst of a global pandemic. People young and old need a story of hope and solidarity, a story that reminds them they are not alone and they too can be heroes. To download the My Hero Is You storybook in your own language and preferred format, please visit the IASC website. Coming soon is Action for Heroes, a guide for adults for heart-to-heart chats with children reading My Hero Is You.
That voice is so soothing, isn't it? You can read us a bedtime story anytime. That is the voice of Toby, and Toby will be making another appearance just with the sound of his voice a little bit later in the big event for mental health. And if you really want to catch up and read My Hero Is You, really easy, just type it into your search engine and you will find it there, and it is my favorite price, absolutely free. Alisson Becker is a football player. He plays for Liverpool Football Club. He's a goalie. He's also a WHO Goodwill Ambassador. His wife, Natalia, is a doctor and also a health advocate. Together, they make a winning team. See what I did there? Hello, Team Beckers.
It's an honor to join the first ever big event organized by the World Health Organization for World Mental Health Day.
We believe deeply in looking after not just our physical, but also our mental well-being. And during these challenging times, our mental health is so important. Looking after your physical health, from staying fit to eating a healthy and regular diet, helps your mental health.
And while COVID is keeping us apart, there are many ways to stay connected with our family and friends. Showing you care by phone and video goes a long way to put fears at ease.
We also need to find time to rest and relax, especially with your loved ones, and do things you enjoy.
Thank you all.
And take care of your mental and physical health.
Ladies and gentlemen, mental health is essential to our overall well-being. Awareness of its importance has grown, but too often persons with mental health conditions are still not well understood or fully accepted. With COVID-19, more people are facing stresses, pressures, and disruptions to their lives and livelihoods. Health authorities around the world must not only fight COVID-19, but also manage its impact on the mental health of their populations. In Singapore, 1 in 7 persons will suffer from a mental health condition at some point in their lives. Ensuring access to quality mental health care for every citizen is therefore a major priority. We have strived to raise mental health literacy, promote early intervention, and improve mental health services. In this stressful period, we have set up a national care hotline to provide psychological first aid and emotional support to the public. We also have a COVID-19 mental wellness task force tackling the pandemic's impact on mental health. Protecting mental health takes a collective effort. Today, on World Mental Health Day, let's resolve to work together to understand mental health better and to care for one another during these difficult times.
So good to see you. Thank you for watching the big event for mental health. We are marking World Mental Health Day by a huge, big, multi-platform social media virtual conversation, talking about the many ways the WHO supports mental health conditions, supports mental health around the world. For instance, the WHO Caregiver Skills Training Program. Let me show you more about that. Take a look.
All children are different in the way they interact, in their experiences, and the pace at which they learn and develop. As much as we, adults, are different in the way we perceive the world, interact with others, and cope with the demands of daily life. We all want children to survive and thrive. And yet, many children with developmental disabilities are being left behind. Well over 50 million children have a developmental disability, such as intellectual disability, autism, or speech disorder, which often limit their opportunities to fully benefit from positive experiences and supports in their communities. Most children with developmental disabilities do not have access to the care they need. These children are often denied access to school and are more likely to experience violence, neglect, and other forms of abuse. Their caregivers are often stigmatized, isolated, and impoverished.
Because I didn't understand my child's behavior, I used to think that I'm a weak mother. I was hopeless.
I did not mix with anybody. I used to lock my door and stay at home.
To this end, the World Health Organization, in collaboration with Autism Speaks and other partners, developed an evidence-informed caregiver skills training program, which teaches caregivers how to use play and home activities The training consists of 9 group sessions and 3 home visits. Community health workers and trained caregivers can deliver the training under the supervision of healthcare professionals. The caregivers' experience after taking part in the training has been positive, with many describing a renewed sense of connection and understanding for their children.
I didn't know how to handle my child before this training. Now I calm myself down and help him to get dressed.
Now my child goes out and I also go out. I believe we're going to bring about many changes.
I understand now how to help him say words. He is asking what he wants.
The caregivers' skills training for families of children with developmental disabilities is being field tested and implemented in more than 30 countries. An online version of the training program is also available.
If there is a way to make the training reach other parents, that will help our children enjoy better health and grow better.
Reaching all children is at the heart of sustainable development, and we must leave no one behind.
Can you imagine 100 million people around the world, who do not have access to quality mental health care, that they have that in the next couple of years? You don't even have to imagine that. That is the special mental health initiative that is already happening in a number of different countries. Let's check in to the Philippines to see how they're doing. Have you ever heard a host say, "This next guest needs no introduction," and then they give them an introduction? I am not going to fall into that trap. I'm just going to say, hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cynthia Germanata, president and co-founder of Born This Way Foundation and WHO Goodwill Ambassador for Mental Health. I'm honored to be here with you all on World Mental Health Day at the big event for mental health. Thank you to Dr. Tedros and WHO for having me today and for hosting this incredibly important event. I'm proud that world leaders are recognizing the importance of mental health and well-being as health priorities within the Global Development Agenda. Mental health and wellness are very close to my heart and to my family. It's why my daughter, who you may know as Lady Gaga, and I co-founded Born This Way Foundation in 2012 to build a kinder and braver world by making kindness cool, validating the emotions of young people everywhere, and eliminating the stigma that surrounds mental health. Our work is to promote actionable kindness and advocate for global mental health awareness. It's needed now more than ever. Recently, the CDC released a study describing elevated concerns about mental health among young people, primarily due to stress associated with the pandemic and physical distancing. Tragically, the study revealed that 1 in 4 young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 contemplated suicide in the previous month. In response to this alarming statistic and many global crises we're facing, Born This Way Foundation and our partners have developed campaigns, uplifted research, shared resources, and hosted conversations to bridge the gap between the resources that exist and what young people need. We know there is no health without mental health, and we cannot do this work alone. I thank each and every one of you for all that you're doing to help advocate for mental health across the globe. Always remember to be kind and stay brave. Thank you all. Goodbye for now.
Cynthia Germanata, she's a WHO Goodwill Ambassador, President and CEO of the Born This Way Foundation, and Lady Gaga's mum. All right, making kindness cool. Talking about cool, this next section is very cool because it's going to be taken over by young people. The question that we want to ask is, why is it important to invest in adolescents' mental health? I am too old to host this segment. I am handing over to Josiah. Josiah, it's all yours.
Adolescents and young people all around the world are going through a critical time in their lives, growing, developing, finding their place in the world, and most importantly, setting the foundation for later life health and well-being.
Talofa, kia ora. I'm Josiah and I want to talk to you about adolescent mental health. Supportive environments in the family, whānau, school and communities help us to maintain good mental well-being. However, this can be a time of vulnerability for the onset of mental health challenges, with half of all cases occurring by age 14. So we asked young people what investing in mental health means to them.
I believe that there is an urgent need to invest in our mental health as youth in order to build our resilience and protect us.
I am 10 weeks pregnant. I'm having anxiety and fear to go to the hospital because of the risk of getting infected. Investing in mental health is like investing for the future.
We have to remember our roots and accept who we are. It is often seen among my peers that they are ashamed of being Kazakhs. It may lead to identity crisis, and we have to deal with it.
To make a real difference, energy, expertise and funds must be invested to ensure that our young people can enjoy good mental health, despite the difficulties that many of them face. So, what investments are being made to improve their lives?
I'm Renata Samuels, the lead facilitator for the HAT initiative in Belize. I have led facilitations for the HAT initiative, conducted focus groups on mental health, roundtable discussions, and I just support young people that want to speak about their struggles mentally. Mental health taught universally opens the door for everyone to comprehend mental health effectively, advocate properly, and live harmoniously.
Maha Tasha is a program technical advisor, Jordan Amman. EASE program improves their mental health. It was very easy for them now to identify their feelings, emotions, as well as solving their own problems. EASE program has impacted us personally because we have to experience all the activities of EASE. It improves our way of communicating with them, being more objective about different feelings and emotions that might be raised in the sessions.
My name is Anthony Mafume. I am 18 years old. I am currently still studying. Chomi is like a very close friend. It really helps me emotionally. Chomi really had a very good impact on my life because it made me who I am today. With all the things that I have learned from Chomi, right now I can be able to accomplish each and everything that I want.
Now is the time to invest in these initiatives and to empower our adolescents to thrive. From local community project-based implementation to integrated strategies and whole of society approaches, This will benefit our young people of today, our future adults and our next generations, to give them all hope.
Thanks so much, Josiah. This is the big event for mental health on World Mental Health Day. We're not just talking at you, we're talking with you. Share your stories, share your experiences. Tell us about what you think about what you've been seeing. Hashtag Move for Mental Health. What am I doing for my mental health today? I'm going to listen to some K-pop. All right, so you need equipment. You need a phone. Okay, be ready for this. Light. Okay. And we need to be swaying because I am ready. Can you see the light? Okay, yes you can. I am ready for Better Days and Super M. Take it away, Super M.
Hi guys, we're
Super M.
Today we're here together to support World Mental Health Day.
We've prepared a song called Better Days.
Here's what we're hoping for better days for all.
Better Days by Super M. Thank you, Super M, for being part of the big event for mental health. 2020 is a tough year. We are battling a global pandemic. It doesn't really matter where you live in the world. One of the hardest things to do is to talk about mental health when you're in the workplace or at work. And that's what this next film is all about being able to talk about your challenges and your mental health condition in the workplace. Let's take a look.
We spend a large proportion of our waking life working. Work influences our health, for the positive, through a sense of identity, purpose, and income. And for the negative, affecting our mental and physical health. COVID-19 has shone a light on workplace mental health, particularly for those working on the front lines, health, emergencies, and humanitarian workers.
But what the pandemic has made visible is what health and social sector workers have been doing for years. They do this with smiling faces, but behind this face, a lot are battling with mental health issues arising from the work.
We always work under unstable and challenging situations, and we also witness the human suffering in natural and man-made disasters. This may cause immediate stress to us, but in some cases, it may also create some long-term mental health impact.
At times, I did find it difficult to stay positive, to stay motivated, and of course this affects your work.
We had been affected severely in terms of mental health. We had to cope up with anxiety, stress, and fear.
Medicine is tough. It demands a lot out of you, emotionally, intellectually, physically.
The stress levels in relation to disrupted work environment and also disrupted personal life and having to work from home has also negatively impacted on mental health in our workplace.
I've had quite a few patients where I've had to tell their relatives they've died via FaceTime. I certainly have had my moments where I've been completely distraught. I've definitely been crying at work.
Mental health isn't just an issue because of the pandemic. Mental health at the workplace needs our attention now more than ever.
I think the key thing is flexibility and also I would say trust between work colleagues, trust that they are doing their best in the circumstances.
The objective is to reinforcing their professionals' own resources and their coping mechanisms.
It is paramount important for the health workers to have optimal physical and psychological health to provide the best care to the patients and the community.
We need to act to end stigma so our colleagues who are struggling with mental health problems will believe that they can ask for help and receive it without being judged by by their colleagues or supervisors.
There should be increased openness about issues related to stress, depression, anxiety, or other mental illness.
A bit more education about mental health to make sure that all the staff know that they can go to someone, there's someone they can talk to, or there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
I definitely would like to see healthcare professionals get access to managers that are trained in mental health that can provide real meaning support for us when we need it the most.
Conversation really can be part of the cure. It's okay to say, I'm not okay, and we need to provide people with time, with safety, so that they know that they're not alone.
If I injure myself, I'm offered physio. I'm offered anything possible to get me back to work as fast as possible. Why is there not the same investment in mental health?
Addressing workplace mental well-being can help strengthen the positive, protective factors of employment.
We can preserve our nursing workforce. We can improve society's health and decrease disability if we partner with employers to address these issues.
The whole issue of mental health is important for nurses, healthcare workers, and for all of society.
We have to spend more time to invest in mental health because to lead balanced personal and professional life in peaceful way.
Mental health doesn't just exist at home. It exists everywhere you go. That has to be looked after, not just by us, but also by the people who employ us.
The time to invest in workplace mental health is now.
You are going to hear the word invest a lot during the big event for mental health, and actually a lot on World Mental Health Day, because the theme for World Mental Health Day is invest in mental health. But you can't really invest in mental health unless you are committed to it, and that commitment comes from the top as well as from the bottom up. So one of our leaders who's committed to investing in mental health, Queen Mathilde of the Belgians. Your Majesty, welcome.
Je m'adresse à vous à l'occasion de la Journée mondiale de la santé mentale, en tant que défenseur des objectifs de développement durable. Vous avez fait le choix de participer à ce grand rendez-vous de la santé mentale, organisé par l'Organisation mondiale de la santé. J'y vois une preuve de l'importance que vous accordez à une bonne santé mentale, pour vous-même, mais aussi pour toute personne et pour toute société. Une bonne santé mentale nous aide à réaliser pleinement notre potentiel. Elle renforce notre résilience et notre capacité à gérer des situations angoissantes ou traumatisantes. La pandémie du Covid-19 a révélé les lacunes des systèmes de soins de santé en général et de santé mentale en particulier. Elle a mis en lumière et exacerbé des facteurs qui fragilisent la santé mentale, comme les deuils, l'isolement, les tensions familiales ou la perte de revenus. Mais le regain d'attention pour la santé mentale suite à cette épidémie nous offre l'occasion de renforcer partout les services de soins et de soutien, ainsi que de travailler à leur amélioration. Des moyens innovants qui ont fait leurs preuves pendant la pandémie, tels que la télémédecine, peuvent y contribuer. J'espère de tout cœur que dans un avenir proche, chacun d'entre nous pourra avoir accès à des soins de santé mentale si il ou elle en a besoin. Ne l'oublions pas, la santé mentale est l'affaire de tous.
You are going to hear stories today from so many people who have a whole range of mental health conditions that nobody wants to talk about. They're taboo, there's stigma surrounding them, and we are not going to flinch today. We are going straight for those stories, and the people who are sharing those stories are doing so generously and openly. I want to stop off at the opioid crisis and talk about the mental health issues around the opioid crisis, but in a very hopeful way. Take a look at this film. It's a film about life.
This is a film about life, about hope, of actions that make a difference, and it's about our future. It's also a story about people who help change lives, people who help save lives, and it's also about remembering, not forgetting. Remember the 500,000 mothers, fathers, sons and daughters who lose their lives to drug use every year.
It's not something that Jonathan did or didn't do. He was the son that any mother would have wanted her son to grow up to be. Unfortunately, we still don't know what makes someone vulnerable to develop addiction. He deserved to live a life like any of us. He would have been the kind of person that you would have interacted with in your daily basis and would not have thought twice that he had a problem, that he had this terrible, terrible disease. That's why his death was such a shock for our community, because he was a good person. He deserves a legacy, and I will make sure that he has that.
Each year, at least 115,000 people die from an opioid overdose. But we have the chance to reduce that figure. We have the chance to make a difference. And effective solutions already exist, most of which operate at the community level.
It doesn't just change an individual when you treat somebody with drug use. It changes a family, it changes a community. We have a team of outreach workers who go out to the community and identify these persons who have the need for methadone maintenance therapy, psychosocial support, and other interventions as per the assessment of their needs. Psychosocial intervention is quite a wide range, ranging from psychological services, social skills improvement, family integration, people who come when they are unkempt, they are dirty, they are homeless, they are malnourished, they come back and they restore their human dignity. It gives you job satisfaction because you go to work and you know you're going to change somebody's life.
This success story in Kenya is one of many community-based programs that is a cost-effective and high-impact solution. But there are many more successful initiatives happening all over the world.
Люди, когда приходят к нам, они привыкли к тому, что им никто не хочет помочь. И когда они видят принятие, поддержку и конкретную помощь здесь и сейчас, это очень подбадривает. Мы обучаем людей о том, что такое передозировка, то есть рассказываем, какие они бывают, какие симптомы и как можно помочь человеку, если вы увидели передозировку, если стали свидетелем передозировки.
Тоже рассказываю про налоксон, чтобы он был в доступе, как им пользоваться и чтобы избежать смертельных передозировок.
Наркозависимые люди, когда чувствуют принятие и поддержку, они готовы меняться сами и отдавать обществу тоже только хорошее.
People are helping people. Never has collaboration been more important. Ideas that have been approved at the highest level are working at local levels.
The SOS project, Stop Overdose Safely, is a really wonderful project. Within the project, we provided services to more than 5,000 people. We provided them with kits with naloxone and with unique training. We trained 5 master trainers and 54 national trainers who provided training to people who live with people who are under utmost risk of suffering from overdose. Without the support from WHO and UNODC, this project would be impossible.
Right now, we have an opportunity. an opportunity to realise that we can scale up overdose prevention activities. Today we can act to make a difference. Today we can help to break the stigma. Today we can stop thousands of unnecessary deaths. Drug dependence is not a choice. It never has been. It's a complex mental health condition and not a self-acquired bad habit. It can be prevented and properly addressed to improve life and well-being of people. It should be an integral part of primary health care and universal health coverage. Today, we invest. Tomorrow, we move forward.
I want to take you to Ukraine next to see how Ukraine is doing with achieving quality, affordable mental health care for its citizens. Let's take a look. The reason we're here for the big event for mental health, 3 big reasons. One is so that you really get to know the WHO a little bit better and what it does for mental health care. Hence the special mental health initiatives from around the world in different countries. Also, how do we look after our mental health better? That's another big point. And then also encouraging us lot, civil society, governments, advocates, social services to invest more in mental health. This next film is really incredible. I know you're going to want to lean into it. When we talk about mental health in 2020, we have to talk about COVID-19 and our global pandemic. What happens? What happened to people who lived in mental institutions? What happened to the residents? What happens to the staff there? We get to see a little bit of how they're managing with COVID-19 by visiting mental institutions in Croatia. Have a look.
Ja sam se, čini mi se, cijeli život pripremao za samoizolaciju i mjere koje su slijedile nakon situacije sa covidom.
I kad je to počelo, odmah sam smatrala da će biti drugačije i bilo mi je jako teško.
Mislili smo da nas je malo strah bilo. Bojali smo se ne da i za sebe, nego i za druge.
Kad se sjetim ti jadni ljudi i da ih korona je dobila, nikome to nije. Ne. evo, želim, evo, meni sunce idu do oči.
To su više krevetne sobe i to je strahoviti problem moje kuće, vjerojatno i nekih drugih kuća u Hrvatskoj, gdje je teško provesti u stvarnosti ove mjere koje su propisane.
Mi ovdje imamo znači i tjelesne invalide, i osobe s mentalnim oštećenjem, i s intelektualnim oštećenjem, i gerijatriju, i palijativu, dakle čitav dijapazon pacijenata s posebnim potrebama.
Prije korone, znači ja sam trebao ići kući i ona je meni bilo teško što ja nisam mogao ići kući pa sam bio plako. Baš mi je ono bilo jako teško.
Nema znači ljudi su anksiozno reagirali, ne samo iz tog dijela hoće li se zaraziti s koronom, već je tu bio i taj aspekt čitave promjene rada koji je nametnut od Zavoda za javno zdravstvo kako bi se zaštitili zapravo korisnici i pacijente različitih ustanova.
Sad od kad je jučer, ja sam već od sinoć na mailovima, da li bi bilo dobro da opet zabranimo ovo, ono, ne znam što. Jer ne znamo opet što nas čeka. A opet je odgovornost je enormna i bojim se da će doći do propusta koji ne mogu iskontrolirati. Evo.
Zapravo je pokazalo da smo mi sad prisiljeni da koristimo neke druge vještine koje će onda omogućiti ljudima da se oporave i da smo zapravo bili na neki način prisiljeni da ograničimo pristup bolnici i ostavimo samo za one hitne slučajeve, zaista one koje ne možemo liječiti u zajednici.
Mi smo sada ljude iz institucija vraćali u lokalnu zajednicu, ali sad znači, na ovaj način mi ćemo prevenirati da ljude ne smještavamo, nego da on ostane u svom kvartu, u svom Zagrebu, dođe k meni u dnevni boravak gdje će imati radnog terapeuta, sestru, gdje će dobiti neki naputak i preporuku ako nešto ne štima, kontakt sa psihijatrom, usmjeriti ga.
Pa ja samo mogu reći da se treba boriti i trebaš izdržati da to sve prođe, da sve ide na najbolje.
How do you talk about suicide? Let's start with some facts and then get personal. Have a look.
My sister was about 33 years old at the time. She was married and she had 4 children. My sister could not access such a service that could have helped her at her time of distress. Had we had such a service as they do in other parts of the world, maybe my sister would not have taken her own life. Maybe she'd have found help.
So when I was 20, I got my diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder and I gave up really quickly. So I was put into a hospital and I ended up running away from the hospital. I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't see a future with this illness that I had. I ended up on the edge of a bridge and I was talked off the edge by a stranger. He was walking past and he stopped to talk to me. And yeah, we had this connection, and I hadn't had that connection with anyone before. And through his openness and his kindness and his sort of patience with me, I started to talk and open up. And eventually he managed to talk me off the edge of that bridge. And then 6 years later, when I was in a much better place, I decided to find him and thank him for what he did. What he did that day, it changed my life. And so to be able to thank him meant so much. I think whether you're the person that's experiencing suicidal thoughts and feelings, or you're the person that's supporting them, the most important thing is to remember that those suicidal thoughts and feelings will pass. They do pass. It doesn't feel like they will when you're in that moment. When you're in that moment, it's so intense, but it does pass, and it passes through, you know, things like distraction or talking it through with someone. But that's the most important thing to remember, that it's just thoughts, it's just feelings, and you don't have to act on them. It feels like you do need to act on them. It feels like that's the only way, but they pass. It's really, really, really key to remember that.
My name is Talinda Bennington, and my late husband was Chester Bennington. He took his life on July 20th, 2017. Yeah, Chester, he was my heart and soul. He was my best friend. He was my other half, and it affects us pretty much in every aspect of life. His loss does affect us. I think there should be immediate support of local organizations that people can reach out to. I feel like there should be peer support. I think that's really important. I think when the tragedy first strikes, I found it quite hard to reach out. And so if you know of someone that is going through a loss like this, I would reach out, connect, offer help, offer support, offer a cup of coffee. Just be there and be compassionate and non-judgmental.
Two years ago, Tim Bergling, who was a Swedish DJ, producer, musician, songwriter, also known as Avicii, basically all-round star. 2 years ago, he took his life. Ever since then, his parents have become advocates for mental health, particularly for young people and mental health. I had the privilege to sit down with Tim's dad, Claes Bergling, just a few days ago. Here's our conversation. Would you introduce yourself to our global audience?
Thank you very much, Femi. Thank you for bringing me into this conversation with you. I have been experienced a lot. My son, Tim Bergling, took his life in April 20, 2018. So that's when, you know, things really changed for me and my wife and family. And as Tim was known as Avicii, he was more famous than we understood, to be honest. I mean, we got so many letters, we got mails, chats, and his fans was absolutely fantastic, and we got so many, you know, serious and nice wordings from them. And we understood that this is a bigger problem in the world. Suicide and mental health issues are really a big problem, and unfortunately among young people. So that's when we, you know, started to get into this subject, which is really a serious one. Yeah.
Claes, there will be parents watching, there will be young people watching, and the one thing they want to know is, how do you know?
I think that's a very hard question, because it's almost, that's also something. I have met so many people now, also specialists, that had their patient, the day before, and the next day this happened. So you cannot really tell. Of course, there are signs, absolutely. You can add the signs and you can, try to do your best, but it's a very tricky thing, this. Absolutely. This music business, another business where you have these famous people surrounding or whatever, there is a lot of, stress and anxiety, and there's a pressure to deliver. So it's very common with abuse of alcohol or different drugs or whatever. And I think that we did a few, we did a lot of things. We stopped him twice, from touring, and we canceled the shows from September to December twice. And in between, there was a constant, talking and trying to get things better, and it went better. I must say that. That's also the thing here. It went better. He was producing music all the time. He was doing his shows. He had his what is called drawbacks.
Mm-hmm.
When he was taken into hospital in 2012 in January in New York, he was, it was after very tight shows, and he was partying. He had been partying a lot, so he has I don't know call it inflamed pancreatitis.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very he was taken into the hospital because of that, and that's an extremely painful thing. So he was treated by morphine-based painkillers. That's the way they treat things like this. It's free from the hospital. He came out from the hospital. He went to Sweden. And before he went to Sweden, he got also painkillers to take when the pain came back again. By that time, we didn't know anything about these painkillers. We didn't know how addictive it was. But I would say that's the way, that's where it started, more or less. So when we talk about mental illness, I would say you can hide mental illness by using drugs. When you get the prescription in a legal way, it probably feels a little bit better for you because you think it's prescribed by the doctor. So you can hide your abuse, and you can also hide your mental condition. At that time, we did an intervention. So his manager, me, and the tour manager, managing director, we get all the friends together, his brothers, etc., and we had an intervention at Ibiza, which was very painful because it's hard to confront your son that way. He was very opposed to this, so we had discussions for from 7 to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We sat in a ring, very hard discussions. But then he gave up and said, okay, I'll go in. So at that time, I think he admitted for himself, he started admitting for himself that I'm in serious trouble.
After Tim died, you set up a foundation. Why did you do that?
I think when we realized the demand, not the demand, sorry, but the situation, you can say demand too, the situation among young people to start with, and that the problem with mental health issues is increasing, and also the suicide rate is at a very high level, also among young people, and unfortunately increasing among young women. We decided that we have to do something with Tim's heritage estate. Now the foundation is focusing on preventative actions and for children, young people, and young grown-ups. These are the people we try to help. We decided to make a donation to an organization called Mind, so they can open their helpline 24/7, 365. It's a suicide helpline. So this is an example. And they open up in April, which is very promising and positive. And we did the same with an organization called Breeze, which mainly focus on children. So many children up to 13 years call them, and they have so much, to tell them and about the situation. And they are also opening a helpline 24/7, 365. But in September next year, they have a bigger organization, so but they are supporting them as well. And we have an activity plan. So for 2021, we will do more things. Preferable hands-on things that can make changes, and also drive the opinion to reduce the stigma about, talking about mental health problems and suicide. The more we can talk openly about these things, it will help a lot. Absolutely.
It's very hard to talk about it. It's such a painful thing to do. But there aren't as many people as you around the world who will feel comfortable about talking about not only the death of their loved ones, but other people sharing their experiences with you. Why is that so important?
Oh, it's important I have, practiced to use the word suicide, not to use it in other way. There are different ways to express this, and you can sort of go around the real problem or the real catastrophe. I choose to use the word and to be very open with it, and I agree with you. It's hard, but still, I can also see that it opens up, because many people have this experience in their families, in the close relationships, whatever. It's far too many, and
if there's a family right now who are experiencing what you experienced 2 years ago, what would you tell that family? What would you tell those parents?
Get help, get professional help, so you get over the first, very painful steps. Because you have to survive, and nothing gets better if you die or if you take your life. So you have to try to. Every day is a struggle. Every day is a struggle. It's getting better, but you never get over this. You better accept that. It's really, you feel better when you accept it, but you have to fight in the beginning, really.
Tim was an extraordinary artist. Even when he had his struggles, he would still go and do shows. He was amazing. We are going to play one of his tracks. What do you want to say about him as an artist before we play a track?
As an artist, if you mean he's acting on stage,
and he's DJing,
no.
and he's producing, and all the other things that he's known for as Avicii.
He was so. I loved his music. I've been listening to it. My wife and I had been listening to it every day. He sent us songs. he asked us, what do you think here? What do you think there? And we sent back our, comments. I don't know if he listened to it, but, he wanted to share them. I think he was a super producer of music, really. Yeah.
Klaus Bergling, what is the one message you want to give the world about mental health from your experience, from your family's experience of losing your son to suicide?
I think you should talk about it. I mean, it's such a big thing. And you have younger people that are not so experienced. You have older people, but the more we talk about these things openly and straight and honest in our families, with our friends, etc., it helps. And it's proven, absolutely proven, that a conversation or talk between persons, people to people, helps. It doesn't always need to be specialists and very complicated. It's more effective to open up and talk about it. Absolutely.
Klaus Bergling, co-founder of the Tim Bergling Foundation, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you very much, Femi. I hope I can contribute to something. Thank you very much. Bye.
Celebrating the legacy of Tim Bergling, that was Avicii's The Nights. It is World Mental Health Day. This is the big event for mental health. What happens on this day? Well, there's this on multiple platforms. Thank you. Thank you for being on virtual platforms with me for the big event for mental health. World Mental Health Day, it is a day to educate, to advocate, and also to understand more about mental health. Day about leadership and commitment. Who better to go to for some leadership and some commitment than the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres.
The COVID-19 pandemic has created a crisis like no other in our lifetimes. The scale of the impact on people's mental health is only now becoming clear. It could have serious implications for many years to come. People all over the world are facing grief at the loss of loved ones, anxiety at the loss of jobs, difficult family dynamics, uncertainty, and fear for the future. Older persons face isolation and loneliness. People living with mental health conditions before the pandemic are trying to cope with disruptions of care and worsening symptoms. Also, millions of people living through humanitarian emergencies risk having their mental health needs overlooked entirely. This is why, early in the crisis, I called for action to invest in and strengthen mental health systems in all countries. Mental health services are an essential part of all government responses to COVID-19. They must be expanded and fully funded. Addressing mental health is central to achieving universal health coverage. It deserves our commitment. Too few people have access to quality mental health services. We must seize the opportunity to support the recovery from COVID-19 by building mental health services for the future. We must commit to investing collectively in our own mental health, in the mental health of our communities, and in the mental health of our society as a whole. Let us work together to ensure mental health for all people everywhere.
It's impossible to talk about World Mental Health Day without mentioning COVID-19, our global pandemic. It has impacted pretty much everybody around the world. One of the things that the WHO did in April was to put together a stress management guide, especially because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's have a look.
Doing what matters in times of stress. Stress can affect anyone at any time, and COVID-19 has made life more stressful for all of us. But whether you're worried about health, money, family, work, or something else, WHO's illustrated guide can help you to support your mental health. A little bit of stress isn't a problem. Everyone experiences it from time to time, but very high levels of stress often lead to unpleasant feelings in your body, like increased heart rate, headaches, and stomach aches. Stress can also create unpleasant reactions like worry. One moment you might be enjoying a meal, and the next you're overwhelmed by anger. These symptoms of stress don't just affect you, they can also affect your loved ones. The downloadable WHO guide teaches you 5 easy strategies to help manage situations like these. Let's look at one of them here. Grounding. Strong emotions can overpower you, like a storm. Imagine you're in a tree when a big storm comes. You'll be blown around if you're high up, but if you get to the ground quickly, you can look after yourself and others while the storm passes. So, how do you ground yourself? First, notice how you are feeling. Then, connect with your body by slowing your breathing and pressing your feet into the floor. Then, refocus on the world around you, the sounds, the smells, and the sights. And soon, you will feel more grounded. This technique doesn't make the storm disappear, but it does keep you safe until the bad weather has passed. Try grounding next time you are feeling overwhelmed. And to learn other helpful strategies, download WHO's illustrated guide. With a bit of practice each day, you can change your relationship with stress. It's time for all of us to be doing what matters in times of stress.
Were you doing it? I was doing it at the same time as I was watching that animation. This is the big event for mental health. One of the big themes for World Mental Health Day, investment. Invest in mental health. So when you're thinking about investing, you do think a little bit about money as well as commitment. So the money side of it, we wanted to know what some of the world's top economists were saying about investing in mental health. So we went to the World Bank's Dr. Mohammed Ali Bate.
I'm pleased to join you at this event this afternoon to share with you the World Bank perspective on mental health. The World Bank Group has accumulated experience and know-how, in addition to its financing, to contribute to scaling up the provision of quality health services in its client countries. Given the nature and characteristics of mental and substance use disorders, it is imperative that mental well-being of populations be seen as a development challenge that requires us to use cross-sectoral entry points from public health, education, social protection, jobs, to workplace responses. Projects funded by the World Bank Group are already supporting the delivery of mental health interventions as part of provision of integrated health services. At the bank, guided by accumulated evidence from across the world, we are convinced that the wealth of nations lies in its people. The fact is, investing in good physical and mental health significantly contributes to human capital development. Our commitment is not new. It has been implemented across countries as we speak today on this Global Mental Health Day of 2020. Going forward, continued dialogue will need to take place for reaching a critical mass in seeing health as an investment, not an expenditure, for economic and social development of countries, and shifting the conversation towards a more sustainable health financing to ensure stable economies. Everything that applies to physical health applies also to mental health. And it is time to stop seeing mental health in silo, but rather recognize that health includes both the physical and mental dimensions. Thank you once again.
And thank you, Dr. Mohammed Ali Bate. Earlier this year, the WHO launched a film festival called Health for All. The idea was to ask filmmakers to find people or communities who are champions for health. It had an amazing response. In the mental health category alone, there were more than 60 films to choose from. The winner of the mental health category has not been announced yet. It is going to happen in this moment. The big event for mental health is going to announce the mental health prize winner in the Health for All Film Festival. Drum roll, please. And the winner is...
My name is Abdullah Haimour, Chief Nursing Officer in the Specialty Hospital located in Amman, Jordan. I would like to personally thank the members of the WHO for this great opportunity to represent nurses and Jordan internationally. It gives me great pleasure to have participated in this WHO competition. I would like to thank all of our voters and a special thank for Dr. Fawzi Al-Hammouri, our General Manager, who provided us with all the resources to be able to put together such a powerful movie in such a short period of time. We choose the topic of mental health as it is common and greatly stigmatized in this region. We wanted to break the silence and encourage individuals to seek psychiatric help. There is no shame in investing in your mental health, whether it's for anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress syndrome. Speak out to someone you trust and get the help you deserve. Sham, the victim in this film, was encouraged to build a trust relationship with Ahid. Ahid, the psychiatric nurse specialist in this film, she encouraged Sham to speak out, you can too. Psychiatric nurses play a vital role in helping patients turn their lives around. All nurses need to be supported more and empowered to be effective pillars of change. Last not least, I would like to thank WHO for this prize, and I will be happy to share it with all nurses in Jordan.
High five, Jordan. That's Jordan high-fiving me. Congratulations, that is fantastic. Knock on My Door is a story about psychiatric nurses in Jordan. Here's a little clip.
So this patient, her name is Sham, she's in room 316. She came to me last night from the ER to this medical surgical floor. She's a 25-year-old female. She came in as a case of hyperventilation and chest pain. No previous medical or surgical history that we know of, and no known drug allergies. She is complaining of insomnia, so they went ahead and gave her Xanax, 0.5 milligrams in the ER.
How about ECG, blood gases?
Okay, so they did an EKG in the ER, which came back to a regular normal signs for them, and they also did ABGs, D-dimers, and creatinine enzymes, and they all came with a normal.
كل إشي بيناتنا حيضل بيناتنا وما حدا رح يعرف فيه، فأنت بتقدري تفتحي قلبك إلي وتحكي لي كل إشي أنت حابة تعرفيه.
أنا وأختي كنا بالمخيم وأختي كانت عم تعمل بوب كورن آخر شي بتذكره كنت عم بسمع صوت البوب كورن وكل ما اسمع الصوت ذكرني بالرصاص اللي كنا نشوفه بسوريا. انت ما فيك تتخيلي، ما عم بقدر اكون اخت منيحة، ما عم بقدر اكون اي شيء لاي حدا، بدي موت، بدي اخلص من هيدا الوجع اللي قاعد.
You can watch the full film Knock on My Door on the website for the Health for All Film Festival. Look it up on your search engine and there you'll find all the links for the winning films. We stay in Jordan to have a look at the special mental health initiatives that Jordan is doing over the next, they've got 3 more years to go, to see if they can bring better, more affordable healthcare to their citizens. Let's check in to see how they're doing. On World Mental Health Day, Minister Sigrid Kaag from the Netherlands is thinking about the world part of Mental Health Day. How can the Netherlands support other countries around the world with their mental health services? Minister, over to you.
Today is an important day. It's World Mental Health Day. This day is about what we cannot always see with our eyes, but we can certainly feel it in our hearts, and what resonates in our souls. This day is about psychological well-being, vital for individual welfare and for keeping communities resilient. Wherever we live, COVID-19 is threatening this very well-being. The pandemic is fueling uncertainty and confusion around the globe. Not only is it destroying lives, it's also destroying the potential to our way of life. Young people in particular risk becoming a generation of lost opportunities. And for people already affected by disaster or conflict, those for whom daily life is already a constant struggle, COVID-19 only exacerbates the deep uncertainties they face. This is why we invest in mental health, especially for those in crisis settings. It is an issue I feel so strongly about, and one we have put at the top of the Netherlands' international development agenda. If we want to ensure a better recovery from COVID-19, and if we want to ensure people are better equipped to cope with crisis and trauma, we must invest in mental health and psychosocial well-being. We must also eliminate the stigma that still surrounds talking about these topics. Let us embrace the fact that matters of mental health affect every one of us. Investing in mental health is not only about providing a quick fix. It's not only about dressing the wounds and moving on. It's a lifelong investment in human capital, in human well-being, an investment that keeps our minds and societies at peace. And there's never been a better time to invest in mental health than now. Mind the mind.
You're watching the big event for mental health. I'm Femi OK. I'm also a journalist, and I know when I am covering big humanitarian disasters or stories, mental health isn't necessarily the first thing that is reported, but it is incredibly important. This film tells us why.
Today, more than 160 million people need humanitarian assistance because of conflicts, natural disasters, and other emergencies. The media often measures humanitarian emergencies with economic statistics or mortality rates.
Around 200,000 people have been killed.
But the rates of mental disorders can more than double in humanitarian crises. 1 in 5 people affected by conflict are estimated to have a mental health condition. And in emergency settings, the economic, social, and health impacts of these conditions are extremely high. That's why it's crucial to increase mental health and psychosocial support in the wake of humanitarian crises. Many humanitarian agencies and organizations respond to emergencies across the world. Working in health facilities and through community networks, these organizations improve and expand mental health and psychosocial support services in dozens of countries like Ukraine, South Sudan, Syria, Nigeria, Yemen, Somalia, Bangladesh, and many others. For example, when the Syrian conflict began in 2011, many health professionals fled to escape the war, and 23 million Syrians were left with little to no mental health care. In response to this emergency, more than 500 healthcare professionals have been trained to provide care for people with mental, neurological, and substance use disorders. Thanks to trainings like these, free mental health and psychosocial support is now offered in more than 130 general healthcare centres, social care facilities, and educational programs in 10 cities across Syria. In comparison, in 2011, these services were based in just 2 psychiatric hospitals in Aleppo and Damascus. Samar is 47. She lost a son during the conflict and was forced to move to Deir Hassan camp with her family.
صار معنا نزوح كتير وصار معي تعب كتير وتراكمت الأمور علينا. كتير تعبت كتير ولحتى حسيت إنه يعني صرت أنخنق صار قلبي عندي تسرع بالقلب.
Samar was referred to a primary healthcare clinic with mental health service in the camp. There she was assessed by a psychosocial support worker and a doctor.
نظرة قاتمة تجاه المستقبل، شعور بالحزن الدائم، شعور بالكآبة المستمرة تجاه الحال اللي كيف كان وكيف صار خلال سنوات الحرب الطويلة يعني.
وعطوني دواء وبعدين صرت أعمل جلسات عند الأنسي وردي، التنفس هيك بطيء، الاسترخاء، يعني هيك نصائح كثير ريحتني.
المريضة بعد عدة جلسات حسينا بثمار حتى هي كمان يعني صارت إنسان ثاني، صارت تهتم بحالها.
Samar also started taking better care of her home, her family, and began to interact with the outside world once more.
والحمد لله تغيرت حياتي، هلقتين بضحك بطلع بفوت بمشي.
Samar is one of over 4 million Syrians who now have access to care because of programs that integrate mental health care in primary care settings, like WHO's MHGAP program. It's a remarkable achievement, but there is much more that needs to be done. Through a further expansion of these services in Syria and around the world, we can continue to improve people's mental health in humanitarian emergencies.
We're in the middle of a global pandemic, so we have to be pretty creative about how we use our advocacy and show our support. So, on the lead up to World Mental Health Day, the Speak Your Mind campaign put together the first ever virtual 24-hour march. Yes, this has been possible on social media using the filters and using the hashtag March for Mental Health. I know you want to see what this looks like if you didn't already take part in it. Let's see the marchers. Roll the tape.
Happy World Mental Health Day.
The world is talking about mental health. But talking is not enough. We need movement on mental health. Most people cannot access mental health support. Up to 90% are not able to receive the care they need, especially in low and middle income countries. In 10 years, depression will put more burden on our nations than any other disease. And the COVID-19 pandemic has made things even worse. This World Mental Health Day, the world came together in the world's first 24-hour virtual March for Mental Health. We moved for investment, for access to support, for rights.
Now more than ever, We must invest in mental health. There is no health without mental health.
The world is marching. The world is ready to move.
Together, everyone achieves more.
It's time for leaders to hear our call.
If I speak my mind, will you listen?
It's time to move for mental health.
We're talking about mental health advocacy. There are a lot of tools in our toolbox. Animation is one, imagination is another one. So in this next film, we're going to be focusing on alcohol and how alcohol can impinge your mental health. And we're going to do some storytelling. We'll have country A, where they have strategies to help with alcohol, mental health conditions, and country B, where they don't. Let's have a look.
Every year, harmful use of alcohol is responsible for 3 million deaths and 5% of the global health burden, from road traffic injuries to violence, abuse and neglect, to diseases like liver cirrhosis, heart disease, cancers and tuberculosis, to mental health issues like alcohol dependence, depression and suicides. But what can we do about it? Well, the WHO's global strategy, endorsed by member states, aims to reduce the harmful use of alcohol. Unfortunately, implementation of the strategy is uneven. Meet Nina. In her country, there are very few government regulations on drinking. Nina is out with a friend. The alcohol is cheaper than bottled water, and the bar stays open till 4 AM, so people are encouraged to stay out late and drink more. Nina's friend falls and hurts herself. Now meet Amia. Her government has introduced pricing measures on alcohol, and there's a mandatory closing time for bars, which means Amia and her friend leave for home at midnight. Amia decides to take a taxi, because the police in her country are very active in enforcing drink driving countermeasures. But in Nina's country, the police don't enforce drink driving laws at all, so she decides to drive her friend home. She is way over the limit and crashes her car. Nina and her friend are taken to hospital, using up the time and resources of busy nurses and doctors. Nina's injuries aren't serious, and once they're patched up, she is released immediately. But when she gets home, she is told that her friend died in the car crash. In Amia's country, if people display signs of problems with drinking alcohol, they are offered help early. Amia's country also has restrictions on alcohol advertising, unlike Nina's, where young people can be persuaded to drink to excess by cleverly targeted commercials. If governments implement the WHO's Safer initiative, they can change people's relationship with alcohol, making our world less like Nina's and more like Amia's. Be safer. Strengthening restrictions on alcohol availability. Advancing and enforcing drink driving countermeasures. Facilitating access to screening, brief interventions and treatment. Enforcing restrictions on alcohol advertising. Raising prices on alcohol through taxes and pricing policies. Safer is a WHO-led initiative that follows the global strategy to make our world safer from alcohol-related harm.
If I could multitask better, I would be looking at Move for Mental Health with all of the stories, the examples, your feedback that you're sharing. I'm going to be doing that all day on October the 10th, World Mental Health Day. But one of the things that is most powerful about what we're doing is actually having a conversation, sharing personal stories and feeling comfortable about doing that. This is what you will find in the next film, where we're looking at people who are HIV positive and also talking about their mental health conditions. And they're very open and happy to share their story with us.
name is Louis van Wyk, and I'm living positively with HIV for 17 years now. In the beginning, it was quite difficult. During that time, you just could not have a normal life. You could not share a cup with someone. You could not hug someone anymore. You just basically felt like you're nothing. Mentally, I started stressing and my body started to give in as well. But it was not the virus that was the problem. It was the stigma and being alone and being isolated, especially being rejected by your family, friends, community, society.
When I found out when I was diagnosed, it was difficult for a day to go by without thinking of when you will die. You get judged so much. You have friends that are distancing themselves from you. It pushed me into depression. I even attempted suicide.
Sometimes you say, why am I alive? But then the idea will come and say, you are alive because of the people who are next to you, especially your children.
When you are living with HIV, it is really crucial that you belong to support groups, because when you have someone that listens to you, it relieves the burden from you. And I think it is very important that we treat the HIV health issue together with mental health, and it should receive the same kind of priority.
In my culture, when you talk about mental health, already it's a taboo. People already think that what is this one talking about? Integrated health and mental health support services play a very big role, because it just makes things easier for you to know that you have someone to speak to and share whatever you're going through.
HIV is just now a normal disease like all other diseases. Yes, we cannot cure it, but we can treat it.
Let HIV not control you. Live positively.
It starts from people who have this experience with issues of mental health to come out to communities to educate them about mental health. You can't just take care of your body. You need to take care of your body, mind, and soul. And the support that we are asking is just to be treated as other human beings.
Peter Sands has volunteered to allow me to pick his brain. It is an excellent brain. He's the Executive Director of the Global Fund. And this is what Peter wants to share with us on World Mental Health Day. Peter?
From the Global Fund's long experience of fighting HIV, TB and malaria, we know that mental health is inextricably entwined with the fight against these infectious diseases. Mental health problems can get in the way of people seeking treatment or staying on treatment. The stigma, the pressures of being HIV positive or dealing with TB can exacerbate mental health issues. And like HIV and TB, mental health carries with it a stigma that gets in the way of it being identified and treated. We need to take advantage of World Mental Health Day to sweep aside that stigma and ensure we recognize that mental health is indispensable to good health. If we don't deal with mental health, we will not deliver the SDG 3 ambition of health and well-being for all.
One of the reasons we wanted to highlight different countries around the world, because the idea of a special mental health initiative that the WHO is working on right now with 12 different countries around the world. They have 5 years, and 6 of these countries you're seeing today in the big event for mental health. And the idea is, how do you provide affordable, quality mental health care? And we are checking in on them. This is year number 2. How are they doing? Paraguay, how are you doing?
En el Día Mundial de la Salud Mental, Costa Rica se suma activamente para destacar la importancia del aseguramiento universal de la salud como requisito para el derecho a la salud mental. La salud mental es una condición necesaria para el bienestar y para la salud física. Debemos de trabajar conjuntamente y de forma urgente con los organismos internacionales, el sector privado, las organizaciones no gubernamentales y las comunitarias. Los servicios de salud mental deben de contar con un enfoque de derechos humanos, reconociendo las identidades diversas de todas las personas, garantizando calidad y no discriminación. Costa Rica ha dado importantes pasos para el acceso y la cobertura universal de la salud mental, pero el COVID-19 ha puesto en evidencia que debemos de realizar esfuerzos mayores, principalmente en las mujeres, en las que ha caído desproporcionadamente los costos de la pandemia. El sistema de salud pública costarricense, que tiene una cobertura del 95% de la población, está fundada sobre las bases de universalidad, solidaridad e igualdad. Les invito a tomar estos principios como referencia para que construyamos en todo el mundo servicios de salud mental. En Costa Rica estamos convencidos que la realización del derecho a la salud pasa por asegurar una salud mental universal y de calidad, con un enfoque comunitario y de derechos humanos. Muchas gracias.
iSupportForDementia.org is a resource provided by the WHO for carers who are looking after family or friends or people who have dementia. It is one of the toughest jobs you could ever do as a carer. Let's have a look.
Globally, there are around 50 million people living with dementia today. The majority of care and support for these people is provided by family members and close friends. While many of them find caregiving rewarding, stigma and the general lack of awareness at all levels of society make access to support and services very challenging.
It took almost 2 to 3 years for us to know that it's a dementia. So 3 years, it was a big struggle for us because we were treating for a wrong problem, wrong disease.
In my state of fear, I was ashamed because they'd said dementia and I knew that was an old age disease. I just didn't understand what dementia was.
当时呢，还接受不了，因为要不是细观察呢，也感觉不出来。因为婆婆这人是一个特别能干的人，年轻的时候呢，在那个人民报做记者，
We didn't know about dementia, and then in India, we didn't have much people who were aware of dementia. There's not enough of focus or not enough of information available about dementia here.
We were not communicating much with the society because of this social stigma. In India, it's a very severe stigma.
My knowledge of dementia was basically zero. I'm still learning all the time.
Often, caregivers are left to research and find information themselves.
Knowledge is very useful and it empowers you.
I started using Google as my source and then started looking at all articles about dementia.
I didn't know what to do. So I just set about researching.
To support caregivers of people living with dementia, the World Health Organization developed iSupport, a comprehensive knowledge and skills training resource. It not only teaches caregivers how to care for someone with dementia, but also how to look after their own mental health and well-being.
This iSupport team, they also helped me a lot. It helped me to educate myself and my family also to overcome these challenges.
And then when I went through this portal, there were a lot of materials.
We got to know what are the challenges we are going to face, what kind of help we need to give, what kind of food we need to provide, how to love him, how to give him a care.
Looking after one's own mental health and well-being also means taking regular breaks and seeking support from others.
I think it's important to have that time off. Thinking for two all the time, it can get a bit tiring.
When I'm not with him, I actually realise I don't have to have a look out, an ear out. I don't have to just keep checking up on him.
While Bev's at these places, I know she's safe. I don't have to keep an eye on her, then he's safe.
有那个各家介绍各家病人的情况，在这联谊会里头呢，大家都没有什么顾忌，因为都是病人患者之间，就不会有什么好像难以启齿的事儿。
Dementia caregivers are providing crucial services to their family and loved ones every day. If we as societies rely on them doing this job, we need to support them and invest in their training. Programs like WHO's iSupport give access to this critical training. Contact us to find out more about how you can support those who care for others. To find out more on adapting iSupport for your country, please visit isupportfordementia.org.
Coming up, Corrado Bello, Nigerian musician, health advocate, will be playing on the big event for mental health. But first, the WHO's Quality Rights Programme. If you haven't heard about it, you're about to. Let's take a look.
Everybody's happy.
People with mental health problems are often denied basic human rights, such as founding families, attending school, and seeking employment. And the stigma associated with mental illness prevents them from going to seek care. The current assessment of mental health services is the first of its kind in Lebanon. We started with 2 facilities that provide mental health care.
So this is what led me to attend the workshop that was training the assessors to be part of the national team of assessors in Lebanon for mental health services, according to quality rights and according to basic human rights.
I personally suffered from a mental health disorder, and this is why it was very important for me to participate in such a project, and I thought this was an amazing initiative considering that it was the first time that it was ever being conducted. It was the first time I felt I was being actively involved rather than passively involved.
A key aspect is that patients actively participate in the assessment team together with mental health professionals, and patients are involved in the development of improvement plans for each facility.
I think it's a very good step forward. We need to be aware of the services provided and the quality of these services, and if they're according to human rights and the basic human rights, for people with mental disorders.
This is the first step toward a nationwide reform of mental health services in Lebanon with regard to the quality and human rights aspects.
I felt like, oh, these are my rights. I have to do this and this and that. And I started going back to the time I was in the inpatient unit and reviewing almost everything the nurses did, what was in the room, the color of the walls, the services provided, the doctors. So actually being on the inside helped me more to assess from the outside.
Hi everyone, my name is Corey Bello. I'm a singer-songwriter from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm the founder of Corey Bello Initiative, and I'm a strong mental health advocate. So being a musician and my intention being to spread joy around the world with my music, it is very important for me to pay attention to my mental health and well-being. So it doesn't matter the field that you're in. Mental health, there's no health without mental health. And I personally believe that we can achieve global peace if we cannot achieve internal peace. So I encourage you to invest in your mental health, also calling on governments and corporate bodies to please invest more in mental health. Enjoy this performance by me.
When goodbye doesn't work, when a good cry and it hurts, when your blue sky becomes too shy, you could rest your head on my shoulder, so you don't have to worry no more. Baby, don't you worry no more. If all I feel to do is to sing to you, to make you smile, I will sing all your favorite songs. I'll be there to sing to you your favorite songs, yeah. Just to watch you dancing to your favorite songs, yeah. Tell you I love you with your favorite melody. L'Olufemi, my favorite girl. When sorry makes you cry, yeah, and your worries don't wanna die, and when you need somebody beside you, rest your head on my shoulder. You don't have to worry no more. Baby, don't you worry no more. If all I feel to do is to sing to you, to make you smile, I will sing all your favorite songs, yeah. I'll be there to sing to you your favorite songs, yeah. Just to watch you dancing to your favorite songs, yeah. Tell you I love you with your favorite melody. L'Olufemi, my favorite girl. My favorite girl. Ooh yeah, you're my favorite girl.
Corey Bello, thank you. And now we go to the Maldives, to the president of the Maldives, because for all of the advocacy and the education that we've been talking about for the big event for mental health. Nothing really happens without political will. It is so important. Thank you, Mr. President, for joining us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Miedaki duniyega nafsani dulahayokamge duhuge gotuga fahaga kora dos. Covid nawarage balimadukamga rajye marjuhumafahu. Mikamun aragatuma masakke koramun daayru. Kuriyavare boda miedmiwani nafsani dulahayokama ahamiyatka denjiva. Mi fursatuga mutamage nafsani dulahayokan kashawar kurma. ನಫ್ಸಾನಿ ಬಲಿತಹುಗೆ ಅಸರು ಕೊಫಾವ ಮೀಹುಂಡ ಏಕಿ ಗೊಯ್ಗೊತುಂ ಎಹಿತೆರಕಂ ಫೋರ್ ಕೊದ್ದೇನ್ ಮಸಕ್ಕೆ ಕುರಮುಂದ ಫರಾಯ್ತಹುಗೆ ಬುರ ಅದಿ ಹಿವ್ವರುಗದ ಮಸಕ್ಕೆ ಫಾಹಗಕೊ ಎ ಫರಾಯ್ತಕ ಶುಕುರ್ದನ್ನವ ಅದಿವಕಿನ್ ಖಾಸಕು ಮೀ ಬಲಿಮಡುಕಮ ಗುಳಿಗೆ ಸೈಕೋ ಸೋಷಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹಿದ್ಮೈ ಫೋರ್ ಕೊದ್ದೆ ಮುಂದ ಹೀವಾಗಿ ಬತಲುಂಗೆ ಮಸಕ್ಕೆತ್ತ ಫಾಹಕೊರ Mifada duwahe faha koramun daayru. Argun me misnaalin jihe muhimmu ekkamaki. Jismani dulahayokam binawifa wani timage nafsani dulahayokamge machaka. Divehi mujtamawge nafsani dulahayokam kashawar kurma. Sarukarum iskande essababaki ei. Ehem balitekke ves effade. Nafsani balitakum ves aragatuma. Oi rasta fesheni. ಮುಳಿ ಮುಜ್ತಮಾವ್ಗೆ ಒರಿಹಾ ಫರ್ದೊಂಗೆ ಅಳಾದುಮ ಹೀ ತರ್ಕಮಗೆ ತೆರೆ ಅಕಿನ್ ಖಾಸಕೊ ಮಿ ಬದಿಗೆ ಅಸರ್ಕುಫಾವ ಮೀಹುನ್ನ ಎಂಬೆಂಬೆಸ್ ಬಾಗೇರಿವೆಗೆ ಎಕಣಿವೆರಿಕಮ ಬಾಕಿ ಉಮ್ಗೆ ಇಹಸಾಸುಂ ಎಮೀಹುಂ ದುರ್ಕೊದ್ದೀಗೆ ನಫ್ಸಾನಿ ಬಲಿತಕ ಬೇಣಂಬ ಫರುವಾ ದಿನುಮ ಎಕಶೀಗೆಂಬ ನಿಜಾಮೆ ಗಾಯಂ ಕುರ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಿಯನ್ನನಿ ಖಾಸ ಸಮಾಲ್ಕಮೆ ದೀಗೆ ಮಸಕ್ಕೆ ಕುರ್ಮ IGMH Hospital ga Gayam Kufawa Center for Mental Health Amilla Clinica Hospital Takum Asanda Mederiko Mifada Balitaka Benamba Bayin Khidmeta 4 Kodinu Mige Terem Fahakoda J Adi Atolta Hugavis Mifada Khidmeta Fula Kuruma Masake Kurumun Dairu Mifada Balitahuge Asar Kufawa Mihuna Ganoni Gotum 4 Kodden Jihe ರಕ್ಕಾತೆರಿಕಂ ಕಶೌರ್ ಕುರ್ಮವೆಸ್ ಮಿದನಿ ಫಿಯೋಲ್ತಂ ಅಳಮು ಅಳಗುನ್ಗೆ ವಾಹಕೊಲ್ ನಿಮ್ಮಾಲಾನಿ ನಫ್ಸಾನಿ ಬಲ್ತಹುಗೆ ಅಸರ್ ಕೊಫಾವ ಮೀಹುನ್ನ ಎಹೆಂ ಮೀಹುಂಗೆ ಹೀತೆರಿಕಂ ಇಂತಿಹಾಯ ಬೇಣುಂಬಾಕಂ ಹಂದಾಂ ಕೊದ್ದೆಮು ಮೀವೆಸ್ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಅದಿ ಕಂಬಡುವಾನ್ ಜೆಹೆ ಬಲಿತಕೆಕ್ಕಮ್ಗಾ ದೆಕಿ ಮಿಫದ ಬಲಿತ ತಹಮ್ಮಲ್ ಕೊರ್ಮುಂದಾ ಮೀಹುಂ ಎಕ್ಕನಿವೆರಿಯ ನುದಿ ಎಮಿಹುನ್ ನಾಯಕು ಅಳಗುನ್ಮೆ ತಿಬಿಕಂ ಅಂಗಾದಿ ಎಮಿಹುನ್ನ ಬೇಣುಂಬ ಅಳಾದುಮ ಎಹೀತೆರಿಕಂ ಫೋರ್ ಕೊದ್ದಿನುಮ ಇಲ್ತಿಮಾಸ್ ಕುರಮ ಅದಿ ಎಬೇಫುಳುಂಗೆ ಸಲಾಮತ ರಕ್ಕಾತೆರಿಕಂ ಕಶೋರ್ ಕೊದ್ದಿ ಬೇಣುಂಬ ಫರುವಾಗೆ ಖಿದ್ಮತ್ತ ಫೋರ್ ಕೊದ್ದಿನುಮ ಕುರಂಜಿಹೆ ಮಸಕ್ಕೈತ್ತ ಕುರುಮುಗ ಸರ್ಕಾರಂ ಎಮ್ಮೆ ಫಿಯವಳೆ ಬೆಸ್ ಫಹತನು ಜಿಹೇನಕಂ ಯಗೀನ್ ಕೊದ್ದೆಮು ವಸ್ಸಲಾಮ್ ಅಲೈಕುಂ ವರಹಮತುಲ್ಲಾಹಿ ವಬರಕಾತು
So we are at the end of our journey for the big event for mental health. So I'm going to end where I began, with Dr. Tedros, who is the Director General of the World Health Organization. I want to see what his takeaways happen to be. Dr. Tedros, great to see you again. What message do you want to leave the audience with?
First of all, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has made today's event such a success. And thank you all the fantastic artists, sports people, leaders and advocates who have raised their voices for mental health. And thank you to everyone who has joined us today for part or all of the show. We hope that you have found it helpful and hopeful. We hope you have been educated, empowered, and inspired. This is the end of the show, but WHO will continue working every single day to increase the awareness of mental health issues, to increase investment in mental health, and to increase access to mental health services everywhere. Because ultimately, there is no health without mental health. And to you, Femi, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Dr. Tedros. And that wraps up the big event for mental health brought to you by the World Health Organization. And remember, this is a conversation that shouldn't end here. It has to continue. Hashtag move for mental health. Keep the conversation going. Be kind. Take care.